Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Recha Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Hosea, the 3rd chapter. And, just a continuation here of the symbolism, right? The symbolic relationship of Hosea, or I should say the relationship that Hosea had with his wife as a symbol or representation of the Most High, the Most High's relationship to Israel, okay, metaphorically as a woman. So continuing here in Hosea chapter 3, verse 1, Then said the Lord Yahweh unto me, Go yet, love a woman beloved of her friend, yet an adulteress, according to the love of the Lord Yahweh toward the children of Israel, who look to other gods and love flagons of wine. So the Lord is basically telling Hosea, go back, right, and love your wife. That's that woman beloved of her friend. Now the word friend there goes into, when you look it up, one of the definitions there is also lover. Okay, so in other words, a woman loved of another man. And that's why it refers to it as adulteress. Where's this, her friend here? And we can see here, right, you have intimate, right, fellow, another person. Right, if you come down here in the Strong's definition, you see here lover. Okay, so once again, right, we knew that Hosea's wife was basically committing adultery, right, prostitution and all of that, as or prostituting herself. Okay, and so the Lord tells him here, go and love her anyway, right? Though she's loved, she has lovers, right? Yet an adulteress, though she is an adulterer or an adulteress, because that's going to represent, right, according to the love of the Lord Yahweh toward the children of Israel. So that's what it's like for the Lord to love the children of Israel, is likened unto you loving your woman that is committing adultery on you. As it says, the love of the Lord Yahweh toward the children of Israel who look to other gods, right? That's that beloved of her friend, right? And love flagons of wine. Now, when you actually look up this part or this term, flagons of wine, it goes into like the cakes, right? The type of cakes that they would actually bake. So here you see Asha Yasha. It says raisin cake used in sacrificial feast, consistently translated in AV as flagon of wine. Okay, and when you, like, one precept here is in the book of Jeremiah, as it reads Jeremiah 7:18, the children gather wood, and the fathers kindle the fire, and the women knead their dough to make cakes to the Queen of Heaven. All right, which is a deity, a goddess that they were honoring, and to pour out drink offerings onto other gods that they may provoke me to anger. So the as we're reading here, the love of the flagons of wine is them loving to make those cakes, right, to sacrifice to these other gods. And yet the Lord still loved Israel. Verse 2, So I bought her to me for 15 pieces of silver, and for an homer of barley, and for an homer and half homer of barley. Okay, and that's Hosea actually doing that, right, to this woman here, as the Lord said that he should do. So he went and basically, you might say redeemed, right, or bought her onto himself after having, basically, you might think of it as put her away, right, ish, for that adultery. But the Lord said, no, go and get her back. Verse 3, And I said unto her, Thou shalt abide with me many days, and thou shalt not play the harlot, and thou shalt not be for another man. So will I also be for thee. All right, so you're going to dwell with me, you're going to stay here, and you're going to be clean. All right, you're not going to have any dealings with any other men. You're not going to play the harlot. You're not going to commit adultery. You're not going to service other men. And in return, I will be for you. Okay, and pretty much that was the deal, right, or the agreement or how the relationship between the Lord and Israel is, right? If you remain faithful, okay, unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, then he will be for your cause. He will, as it says, he will be our God and we shall be his people. Verse 4, for the children of Israel shall abide many days without a king, and without a prince, and without a sacrifice, and without an image, and without an ephod, and without teraphim. And so this Gomer here, dwelling all these many days without playing the harlot and without being for another man, right, was going to symbolize that Israel was going to have a period of time, all right, where they would have no religious, no customary, none of those practices, right? In the sense that by going into exile or captivity, okay, we weren't going to have a king. Now, when you actually go through the history, you notice that after, at least for the northern kingdom, it was when the Assyrians came around 720s, right, BC, I believe around 722 or 723 BC, and besieged them, took them down and deported them. And for the southern kingdom, when the Babylonians came, right, the last man on the throne, you would say, right, I believe it was Zedekiah. And once he was taken out, that was pretty much it for the reign of kings, okay, officially on the throne of Israel. Okay, so as it says here, the children of Israel are going to abide many years without a king, right, and without a prince, and without a sacrifice, right. That goes into both right hand ritualistic and left hand, and without an image. And when you go into the word image, there are a couple of definitions there, right? You have image as in idols, all right, but you also have image as in altar, all right. Matazabach, as it says here, pillar, stump, or pillar with an altar, okay, a personal memorial, a monument, okay. So going back here, it says, and without an image and without an ephod, right, which was what the priest wore, okay, and that would represent also the lack of guidance, right, from the priests, in ordering the people in the right way, and without teraphim, okay. And when you actually go into that word teraphim, it's similar to, I believe, what Rachel had, which she actually stole from Laban, right, which was like a household shrine, all right, or idol, actually, okay, like a family idol, which back then, Jake had those kinds of things. I believe even in the book of Judges, there's mention of that, okay, which was all going off anyway. But the point here, that representation, right, of Gomer, the Hosea's wife, being without playing the harlot, all right, or being for another man, right, was going to be Israel being in a period of time, right, without that king, without that prince, without any form of religious sacrifice, right, or images, whether it's altars where you would serve at, or idols you would serve or bow down to, or the ephod that the priest would wear, or even those shrines or idols that they would serve. There would be a period of time where they wouldn't have that. Okay, and afterwards, as it says in verse 5, and now this is leading more so into the latter days, right? Because as we transition from verse 4 right into verse 5, we now go to, similar to what we read in chapter 2 and chapter 1, what happens in the latter days, where there's this returning, okay, back to righteousness and that mercy being showed from the Lord. So as it says here in verse 5, afterward, right, so after this period of time, shall the children of Israel return and seek the Lord Yahweh their God and David their king. And that's what we're doing now, right? We're seeking first and foremost Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, having been having our remembrance, right? Our pure minds being stirred by way of remembrance. And now the Lord has put that spirit upon us to wake up again and to seek him. Okay, and as it says in David their king, all right, because when you go even into the book of Amos, the 9th chapter, right, we understand that the Lord said he's going to build the tabernacles of David again, all right, and close up the breaches thereof. So who's going to be the king over that? King David. Okay, and above him, Yahweh Shai, and once again, up that ladder. Okay, it says, and shall fear the Lord Yahweh and his goodness in the latter days, which is the time that we are in right now. Okay, so as we went through Hosea, the third chapter, we see that once again, there's more of this metaphorical, this like symbolic relationship, right, between Hosea and his physical life, but that being a representation of the Lord's relationship with the nation of Israel. So with that, brings us to the end of the book of Hosea, the third chapter. Lord willing, this was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Recha Kodesh. And until next time, Shalom.